Have you ever wondered what happens in the shadows when night falls? In a world where justice doesn't always prevail, Tara Baker's story confronts us with a dark truth. Not every case is solved, and the system isn't always on our side. Tara's tragedy is a brutal reminder that even in a safe place like a prestigious university, danger can lurk around every corner. But what really happened on that fateful night in Athens when a promising student vanished without a trace? It's easy to believe that we're safe, that the odds are in our favor, but this is a dangerous illusion. The truth is, the unexpected can happen at any moment, and Tara's case is proof of that. A talented young woman, with a bright future ahead of her, had her life brutally cut short. Why did the police take so long to find the culprit? And why did this case remain unsolved for more than 2 decades despite the clues left behind? Get ready for a story that challenges your beliefs about safety and justice. But there's a reward in following this story to the end. You'll not only discover how the truth finally came to light, but also understand the power a determined community can have in demanding answers. Throughout this account, you'll be transported to the events of that winter in 2001. Feeling every twist, every moment of despair, and finally, the long-awaited resolution. This is more than just a murder case. It's a tale of human resilience and the relentless pursuit of justice. Join us on this journey and discover how, even in the darkest circumstances, the truth always finds a way to shine. The night was cold and silent in Athens, a university town with streets that seemed to sleep alongside its students. Tara Baker, a law student, spent her nights immersed in books at the University of Georgia Library, determined to build a bright future. Her steps echoed on the wet sidewalk as she left the library, waving to the silhouette of the security guard at the entrance. The clock read 9:46 p.m. when Tara made one last call to her friend, assuring her she was heading home. The streets were empty, illuminated only by flickering streetlights casting dark and distorted shadows. A fog was beginning to form, giving an almost supernatural air to her journey home, unaware that she was walking toward her fateful destiny. As she walked, Tara noticed the city had a peculiar charm at night, almost like a noir film setting. The old houses, with their worn facades and shadowy gardens, seemed to silently watch her every move. She tightened her coat around herself, feeling a chill down her spine that wasn't just from the cold. Something bothered her, a feeling of being watched. As she turned the corner onto her street, she saw a figure in the distance. The man seemed out of place, wearing only a t-shirt and jeans in the middle of winter. Tara's heart raced, but she quickly convinced herself that he was probably just a fellow student returning late from a party. She continued on, determined not to let fear take over. Arriving home, Tara opened the front door with a sigh of relief. The lights were off, indicating her roommates were out. She enjoyed the occasional solitude, the silence that allowed her to focus on her studies. The house was cold, and the air smelled of old books mixed with the faint aroma of lavender incense she often burned. Little did she know this would be her last moment of peace. As she took off her shoes, she heard a strange sound from upstairs. A door closing. A chill ran down her spine, but she forced herself to believe she was imagining things. She took a deep breath, trying to calm herself, but the feeling that something was very wrong lingered, like a persistent shadow lurking in her mind. Dawn slowly broke in Athens when the phone rang at the Baker family home. Virginia Baker, Tara's mother, answered with a mix of fatigue and concern. Hearing the deep voice on the other end, a chill ran down her spine. The man identified himself as a detective and began asking strange questions about Tara, mentioning they needed her fingerprints. Confused, Virginia hung up, convinced it was some kind of cruel prank. However, the doubt continued to gnaw at her, and she decided to call the local police station. Her unease turned to horror when she heard the call was genuine. There had been a fire at Tara's house, and an unidentified body had been found. The drive to Athens was a silent torture for the Baker family. The road seemed to stretch endlessly as Virginia and her relatives battled against the rising sense of panic. Upon arrival at the police station, they were met with a cold silence and evasive looks. The wait seemed eternal, the ticking clock on the wall a cruel reminder of time passing without answers. When they were finally attended to by an exhausted detective, the news hit like a bombshell. Tara had been murdered, not killed in the fire as initially thought. The revelation was followed by a shocking explanation. Tara had left a clue under her nails, fragments of the killer's skin. The family, devastated by the news, desperately sought answers that weren't forthcoming. The detective, visibly worn out, informed them he couldn't answer any more questions at the moment. Before leaving, he mentioned that Tara's body was being examined and that the investigation was ongoing. For the Bakers, the lack of clear information and the authorities' indifferent treatment was unacceptable. The determination to uncover the truth about what happened to Tara transformed into a burning purpose, a flame that burned intensely amid the darkness of tragedy. With the revelation of Tara's murder, the house where she lived transformed into a crime scene full of secrets and mysteries. Investigators were there, examining every corner, but the scene had been severely compromised by fire and the water used to extinguish it. The smell of smoke still hung in the air, mixed with the acrid odor of chemicals used in the investigation. The charred walls and burnt furniture were a sad reminder of what had happened there. However, what worried Tara's family the most was the absence of adequate measures to preserve evidence. It was as if fate wanted to hide the truth at all costs. The authorities found the lack of signs of forced entry disturbing, raising the suspicion that Tara knew her killer. Tara's personal belongings, except for her missing laptop, were all in place, indicating robbery wasn't the motive. The laptop, a bulky piece of technology for the time, was a peculiar item to be taken. This raised doubts about what else might be hidden on its hard drive. While detectives tried to piece together the puzzle, more questions than answers arose, and uncertainty hung like a heavy cloud over the investigation. Neighbors reported seeing a strange man running down the street the morning after the fire, wearing only a t-shirt and jeans despite the biting cold. This sighting added to the mystery, but the man's identity remained unknown. Investigators faced a complex puzzle, where every piece seemed to be missing or damaged. Meanwhile, Tara's family struggled to comprehend the extent of what had happened, tormented by the idea that someone she knew and trusted could have committed such a heinous act. As the investigation progressed, the list of suspects grew, each more intriguing than the last. The first to be investigated was Tara's boyfriend. Although he had a solid alibi, the police still didn't completely rule him out. His behavior became increasingly strange under the pressure of relentless interrogation. He was called to the police station at any time of the day or night, forced to repeat what he knew, to provide biological samples to face the lie detector. His relationship with Tara, once seen as a safe haven, was now examined with a lens of suspicion. Among the other suspects was a student who shared some classes with Tara. He had a disturbing reputation, known for his persistence in asking girls out, even when they clearly weren't interested. Some students reported unsettling behavior from him, describing how they felt uncomfortable in his presence. Tara had repeatedly rejected his advances, but could he have taken the rejection to the extreme? The police considered all possibilities, but the case was far from simple. Another name on the list was an attorney who worked at the same firm as Tara. He had acted strangely in the days leading up to the murder, isolating himself from friends and colleagues. What raised suspicions were the fresh scratches on his neck. When questioned, he claimed he had been scratched by a cat, but the explanation seemed too convenient. Witnesses noted his erratic behavior and abrupt changes in his personal life, including a sudden resignation and departure from the state. Suspicions intensified, but there was no concrete evidence to directly link any of them to the crime. As the investigation advanced, Tara's family grew frustrated with the lack of transparency from the police. Detectives maintained a veil of secrecy over the details of the case, refusing to share information even with the closest relatives. The feeling of helplessness was suffocating, and the Bakers were determined to get answers. In a desperate effort, Virginia Baker began recording her conversations with the authorities, documenting every interaction in hopes that some detail might pave the way to the truth. Time passed, and access to official case documents, including Tara's death certificate, was repeatedly denied. It was as if an invisible wall prevented them from understanding what had really happened that fateful night. The family hired a renowned criminologist to review the case, but even then, the police only allowed access to the files on the condition that nothing be shared with the family. The Bakers found themselves in a maze with no way out, where every step seemed to lead them back to the starting point. Despite the difficulties, the Bakers' determination never wavered. They continued to press the authorities, raising funds to offer a substantial reward for information leading to Tara's killer. The local community rallied around the cause, but the leads were few and far between, and the shadow of the unsolved case continued to loom over everyone. Hope was a tenuous thread, held only by the family's willpower and the belief that one day the truth would prevail. In 2019, nearly 2 decades after Tara's murder, new interest arose with the launch of a podcast dedicated to her case. The show re-examined all known aspects of the crime, interviewing friends, family, and former investigators. The stories shared on the podcast brought a new perspective to the case, raising questions about the failures in the initial investigation. The renewed attention not only reignited public interest but also pressured the police to reassess the case with fresh eyes. The commotion surrounding the podcast led to the creation of a law in honor of Tara and another unsolved murder victim, Rhonda Coleman. Known as the Coleman-Baker Act, it aimed to improve the investigation of cold cases in Georgia. This legislation was a milestone for the Baker family, a formal acknowledgement of the fight they had waged for so many years. With the creation of a dedicated cold case unit, the hope of finally achieving justice for Tara was stronger than ever. With the new unit in operation, detectives reviewed every piece of evidence, using modern DNA analysis technology that wasn't available at the time of the crime. This was a crucial turning point in the investigation. The tireless determination of the new investigators began to yield tangible results, rekindling hope that the mystery surrounding Tara's murder would finally be solved. The community eagerly awaited any news as the shadow of the unsolved case began to fade, replaced by a glimmer of renewed hope. In May 2024, after months of meticulous investigation, the police called a press conference to announce a significant breakthrough in Tara Baker's case. Cameras flashed frantically as the police chief prepared to reveal what many thought was impossible: the identification and arrest of Tara's murderer. The name Edric F.A. echoed through the room, a 48-year-old man with an extensive criminal record, now charged with the brutal murder that had remained unsolved for more than 2 decades. The revelation left the community stunned. How did F.A., a man seemingly unconnected to Tara, manage to remain invisible for so long? The police explained it was advanced DNA analysis that finally linked F.A. to the crime. Skin fragments found under Tara's nails were carefully re-examined, and modern technology allowed for a clear DNA match. The evidence was so compelling that F.A. was denied bail, his fate now sealed by science. For Tara's family, the news brought a mix of relief and sadness. After years of uncertainty, they finally had an answer, but the pain of loss remained undiminished. During the press conference, Tara's mother, Virginia, thank the investigators for their dedication and the podcast listeners whose interest revitalized the investigation. As Edric F.A. awaited trial, the certainty that justice was finally within reach offered the Baker family much-needed closure, a chance to begin healing their wounds. With Edric F.A. behind bars, the trial became a highly anticipated event for everyone following Tara's case. The courtroom was packed with journalists, curious onlookers, and supporters of the Baker family eager to hear the details the police had yet to reveal. The evidence against F.A. was overwhelming, and the prosecutor was confident of securing a conviction. The hearings revealed more about the night of the crime, including how F.A. entered Tara's house and the events that led to the tragedy. During the trial, it was revealed that F.A. didn't know Tara personally but had observed her for some time, fascinated by her routine and vibrant personality. He entered the house under some pretext, and the situation quickly turned violent. The forensic evidence, now indisputable, included the DNA match and witness descriptions of him seen on that cold morning fleeing the scene. The guilty verdict brought a collective sigh of relief in the courtroom. Justice finally served. Tara Baker's case, as tragic as it was, left a lasting legacy. The legislation inspired by her name continues to positively impact the investigation of unsolved cases throughout Georgia. Her family's determination to seek the truth and the public pressure revitalized by the podcast paved the way for a new approach to investigating homicides. Though Tara can never be brought back, her spirit lives on in the changes her story inspired, offering hope and justice to other families still waiting for answers. And so, after decades of mystery and perseverance, the truth about Tara Baker's case finally emerged from the shadows. Her story teaches us that even in the face of adversity, determination and the quest for justice can prevail. But what about you? How can you apply this knowledge in your life? Are you willing to question what seems obvious and fight for what's right, even when the path is long and arduous? Think about your own journey. Are there issues in your life that you've been avoiding? What mysteries or challenges can you solve if you decide not to give up? Tara's story is a powerful reminder that change begins when we decide to act. We can't change the past, but we can use its lessons to shape a better and safer future for ourselves and those we love. Now, imagine a world where everyone commits to making a difference, where each of us is an advocate for truth and justice. Are you ready to be part of that change? Share your thoughts in the comments, share your experiences and challenges, and together, we can create a strong and resilient community. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to continue learning about stories like Tara's and many other fascinating cases. Let's explore the depths of mystery and crime together, always seeking the truth and inspiring change. Your next discovery is just a click away. Until next time, welcome to Spooky Stories. I'm Milo, your guide through the chilling and the unknown. Here, we dive into terrifying tales that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Join our community of thrill seekers, and let's explore the darkness together. Meet Sarah. Like many of us, she used to dread bedtime. Hours spent tossing and turning, waking up groggy and irritable, and worst of all, her relentless snoring that not only disturbed her sleep, but her partner's as well. Desperate for a solution, Sarah tried everything. New mattresses, white noise machines, even sleeping pills. Nothing worked until she discovered our breathing for sleep routine. One particularly frustrating night, Sarah stumbled upon an article about the power of breathing to improve sleep. Skeptical but willing to try anything, she read about our breathing for sleep routine, a simple, scientifically backed method designed to clear sinuses, enhance breathing, and eliminate oxygen blockades. It promised to guide users through a simple breathing routine for the best sleep of their lives. Intrigued, she decided to give it a shot. As she began the routine, Sarah immediately felt her sinuses clear. She followed the step-by-step guide, learning how to breathe deeply and correctly. Within minutes, she noticed a significant difference. Her breathing was smoother, more relaxed. That night, she fell asleep faster than she had in years and, incredibly, stayed asleep all night. One of the most astonishing benefits was the end of her snoring. The routine included a simple breathing hack that stopped her snoring in minutes. Sarah learned that her habit of mouth breathing was activating her survival mode, preventing her from achieving truly restful sleep. By switching to nasal breathing, she deactivated this mode and allowed her body to fully relax. The next morning, Sarah woke up feeling refreshed and rejuvenated. She couldn't remember the last time she felt so well rested. Her partner noticed the difference too. No more middle-of-the-night disruptions from her snoring. The transformation was remarkable, and Sarah knew she had found something special. Sarah's story is not unique. Many others have discovered the life-changing benefits of our breathing for sleep routine. Imagine falling asleep quickly, sleeping soundly through the night, and waking up feeling fully rested. No more snoring, no more grogginess, just deep, restorative sleep. Are you ready to transform your sleep like Sarah did? Our breathing for sleep routine is easy to follow and starts working immediately. Clear your sinuses, enhance your breathing, and remove oxygen blockades with our guided routine. Say goodbye to snoring and hello to the best sleep of your life. Check out the link for this wonder in the description and the comments.